High school teachers of Reddit, what is the one thing that you want your students to know that you'd never tell them in person? I am no longer a teacher, but I remember several days that I felt lazy and wanted to give the class the day off. I never did because I knew the teacher's pet would rat me out. Sometimes even the teachers don't like the teacher's pet. I encourage my worst kids as much or more than my favorites because I don't want them back in my class next year. That my students are the reason why I am second guessing having my own kids. I knew you were cheating, so I gave you a test with the answers in a different order for the rest of the semester. You clearly weren't very bright to figure it out, and yes, I am that spiteful. It was easier than reporting the cheating. Yes, I do have favorite students. No, I won't tell you who they are because that would discourage you, but yes, they're probably who you imagine them to be. If you're jacking off in class, we can tell. I teach middle school in Taiwan. My students are 60% ESL, 30% intermediate English proficiency, and 10% native fluency. Only have 42 students, so this number is pretty on the money. I want to tell them this: I'm not an idiot. When you are ridiculing me in Chinese, I've picked up phrases and know which ones you're using. Don't act surprised when I give you detention for calling me Benden, Dumbus, or Beichi, idiot. I know what you're saying, ugh, Benden. I hate the texts as much as you do, but everyone just shrugs when I suggest changing them up. I'm sorry they made us keep that awful after book on the list. I genuinely offered to buy them all back from students so I could burn the waste of time that they are. I'd let you get away with so much more if you were actually a decent person who treated others with kindness and respect. Assholes rarely get the benefit of doubt or indifference. Yelling fuck in the hallways doesn't make you a badass. Teachers are yelling fuck in their heads all day long. I don't know if there's an exact quote I'd use, but I wish I could let my students know how dumb they look sometimes, and how they need to relax and stop taking themselves so seriously. I also frequently find myself wishing I could rag on kids' clothes hairstyles that they've obviously put way too much time and money into, but these thoughts only cross my mind when they're being assholes. That's the unprofessional petty stuff I'd say. I could think of something much more wise, but it's my lunch break and Friday and my brain is fried from trying to keep these assholes together a week before finals. Your sense of entitlement is most likely acquired from your upbringing, so parent-teacher conferences to discuss your grades aren't going to do shit when the parents just blame us, despite you putting in little to zero effort. One of the most valuable lessons I can teach you is to fake looking busy. If we're supposed to be working on an assignment or reading or whatever, and you see me coming your way, at the least have a piece of paper on your desk and a pen in your hand and some shit on your paper, and then I won't bother you. If you have nothing going on and can't even be bothered to make it look like you're trying, I'm heading your way. This lesson will be invaluable with eventual bosses someday. I'm a bus driver. Sit the fuck down, you will die if I crash. I would like my students to know how stupid they are. Asked them what 3 times 3 was, and they said 21. Lol guys, I'm not a real teacher, and yes, I know what the 21 meme is. You're unique. You're not special. Set your goals high, but understand that if you change your goals to needs, you will have a lifetime of disappointment. I teach middle school, not high school, but for me, it's that I know shit sucks at home. I see it every day when you come into my class. I see the tears you're hiding, the pain behind that class clown smile, the emotional fragility behind your tough guy persona. I know exactly what it's like to come from a broken home. I wish I could do something, but until you come to me, all I can do is try and let you know, with a look, a smile, a subtle turn of phrase, that I'm always there for you when you need an ear, or a shoulder. I don't care that you came to class stoned. Just stop interrupting class, and for God's sake, don't touch any power tools while you're stoned. To my freshmen, yes, I always know when you didn't do my math because you stayed up late playing Fortnite. You added me as a friend on Epic, so I see that. Also, the amount of homework not done in lower grades when new battle passes come out is so coincidental. To a specific freshman, I support your desire to become a streamer. but editing videos should not keep you away from your homework for a whole week, and your friends always rat you out when you stay home skip to make edit those videos. To all high schoolers I teach, you're dumb, but I do love you guys. I'm not stupid, and while I know you cheat on your homework, I don't care since it's only worth 10% of your grade and you're foregoing the practice you can get before the test. To the 6th graders I teach math to, dear lord, you make me cringe so hard I have to take ibuprofen some days. I have so much more, but my lunch break is almost over. If you're going to eat in class, stop staring at me while you're doing it. You're ratting yourself out. Yes, I put you in a group with the kid you have a crush on intentionally. I'm stuck here with you 180 days a year. I want to see some drama. One of the most memorable things a teacher said to me, I'm really glad she did say it to my face. I really like you as a person, but I hate you as a student. My French teacher told me this when I was in high school, during this period where I was really depressed and on the verge of flunking out. Having her be so honest with me and pointing out that I was wasting my potential made me want to do better, and eventually I did. If you are stupid enough to have filmed yourself doing something that can get you in trouble, especially legal trouble, for the love of God don't post it online. Please stop dueling in the classrooms, that's what the bathrooms are for. Till all my teachers totally knew I was high all the time. Shit. The weed smell doesn't magically disappear between the parking lot and my classroom. I can see who you have a crush on in the classroom. I actually teach middle school rather than high school, but I'll play. I love them a whole bunch. I do actually tell them this. That's not the thing. But goddamn, every single middle schooler is an asshole. Like, even the best ones. They're all assholes. You can't help it at that age. Part of the process of being a good middle school teacher is accepting the assholishness and figuring out ways to work with it. Don't worry, guys, your peers, and you, will stop being assholes soon. Most of you, anyway. Also, all the things you think your parents and teachers don't know about, we do. We've done it all. We just would prefer not to think about you doing it because you're much too young. You know what, Jono? You're a little cunt. Gold, twice. Thanks guys. That we have much better hearing than you assume. We just choose our battles as it pertains to inappropriate comments. And sometimes I pretend not to see that thing you did just because I too found it humorous, and speaking to you about it would only result in me cracking up. I love these posts because the comments are generally well formatted. Thanks, teachers. A few off the top of my head. Just because I like you as a person doesn't mean that I won't fail you. Being smart isn't a justification for being lazy, and I can't pass someone that never hands in work. I moved you away from your friends because they were taking you down with them. You have a real future in sports, but you need to pass my class to play them. Your friends were making you fail, and if you don't get to play volleyball, I don't know what kind of future you have in front of you. I wish that the positivity that you get in my class could follow you home. I've met your parents and they are a nightmare. I do my best to encourage you here, but I know that some days that just might not be enough. I have never and will never find a student intimidating. That's why I laughed at you when you asked me if I knew who your father was. Yeah, he's the manager of a car dealership. That means nothing to nobody. I had a kid throw a desk at me, and while it scared me in the moment, it didn't make me fear him. One day, you will meet someone who has real power, and I just wish that I could be there to see it. Yes, we have a new seating chart. And yes, I sat you next to her because I can tell you have a crush on her. I noticed you try harder on your work when she is around. And to be honest, you two would make a cute couple. When you think you are being genius by getting me to talk about random things at the beginning of class instead of teaching, I'm really allowing it to happen. BC, I don't have enough plan to cover a full class. If I know your name by the third day of a new school year, that means you're probably an asshole. If your parents email a teacher and argue with them, the whole staff knows, at least at my school. I can definitely hear the horrible things you are saying. Yes, I see that you are on the other side of the room. I may be old to you, but I am certainly not deaf. Also, that teenage boy is definitely going to buy you a Big Mac in exchange for oral sex 100 out 100 times. Your parents are literally the worst part of my job. My gamertag. I usually say there's a policy against it, but there isn't. I just don't wanna play Overwatch or whatever with a bunch of relatively good kids who turn into total monsters when they play video games. If I tell the cool ones, it'll get around. I pretend to like you and I pretend to care about your fads and interests, but I'm mostly never going to see you again when you leave. Keeping a healthy detachment at all times is important to maintaining mental health. My mum would have loved to tell her classes of teenage boys that tossing yourself off before school leaves evidence for the nose and the eye. Have a wank. Have a wash. Edit yes. You smell after you've come if you don't make any effort to have at least a bit of a rinse. That it's just as weird for me as it is for you when we bump into each other in public. You are right. The administration is completely out of touch when it comes to technology. I also work better while listening to music on my phone. That I lied to you when I said I was 40. I was actually only 21 and I was only a couple of years older than you. I've seen you at the club and I've seen you partying. Furthermore, I have run into you in public way more times than you realize. But half the time I run away, the other half the time you catch me before I can. Also, when I was at the mall, the guy you pointed to and asked me if he was my boyfriend was just a random Tinder date I just met. He was definitely not my boyfriend. If I didn't think you would abuse the situation, I would really enjoy being more human and casual around you. I think you are a fun person to be around. I used to teach English to high schoolers in France. Most of my students were really good. A few of them I would have really liked to say to their faces that they were little shits and need to work on not being such douchebags.